Hey, I'm Andrew Wood, and I'm back with an inbox response to one of my subscribers, RobertJFreemantle, and he asked me a question today in PM about searching over time. Basically, the way he put it was tests over time. Basically, those long extended rolls that many different game systems call for, where you're rolling, okay, I need to get 20 successes, okay, there's one here, roll again later, 4, roll again later, oh, I botched, roll again later, another one, roll again later, roll again later, roll again later, roll again. You're getting tired of hearing me say that, and you would get even more tired in a game sitting there and rolling those dice over and over and over again to the point of ridiculousness. Just dice rolling ad nauseum is always a bad idea. Every time you roll the dice, you come out of character. You're not going to be able to maintain that deep level of in-character while you're clacking a dice around. Neither is anyone else at the table. It's horrendously distracting. I do not like any protracted test. I'm not even really a huge fan of rolling dice overall. Typically, in a situation like that, with the protracted tests, and in particular, like I said, he's asking specifically how I handle searching, trying to find or locate something or someone. Now, they typically, I'll specifically use Dungeons & Dragons, specifically sort of break down in 3 ways. There's a gather information roll, where you are trying to find information, and that might be handled in like a White Wolf system with a streetwise roll. That's how it's handled in Savage Worlds with the streetwise roll. And there's probably pretty similar correlations to a lot of games in that way. Investigate in a Cthulhu game. So we're drawing parallels to a lot of different games. I'm trying to be too Dungeons & Dragons specific here. I know you're more of a Warhammer player, Robert. Now, you also have your survival rolls, your tracking checks. You're trying to find where someone or something went, specifically by following dung, footprints, broken branches, cartwheels, horse hooves, whatever it is, to continue pushing you along in that path. Now, there's also the search roll, which is used to loot a room of treasure, find the diamond the orc shoved up his butthole, or the string of pearls that are hidden in the false bottom chest, whatever it is in that sort of situation. Or to try to find a secret door or secret passageway through a dungeon or a tomb or something of that nature. Now, whenever you're having these protected rolls and it's calling for, okay, make another roll, make another roll, make another roll, whatever it is, I pretty much don't do that. At most, I might have you make one roll. I typically ask players, and I ask them usually only a few times because I pick up and I have a good memory for numbers. I'll remember what the players have and where they have it, so I can take that tailored into the game and bring it back and use those things. Now, if you're just a gather information machine, a streetwise machine, if you have a lot of ranks, a lot of dots, a high percentage in the particular skill in question, whether it's to gather information, to follow someone or something, or to find some specific item, I'm going to more take that into account than anything else. And now, where it gets tricky is if you just have barely, like, on the cusp, like, all right, I have, White Wolf system, I have 1 dot in this. You kind of got to make somebody roll in, because they might. It's not like they don't have anything where you can just kind of jack and be like, well, you just won't really find anything. Or, they don't have a lot, 3, 4 dots in a White Wolf system, or, 5, 8 ranks in a D&D system, or, like a 60% in like a BRP game. So, when they do have a possible chance, that's really the more times when I tend to roll. Like you have a rank or 2 ranks or a dot or maybe even 2 dots. I'll have your roll. But I'm not going to go with whatever sort of system. I think those are design flaws of games. Because continuous dice rolling is not fun. It's kind of giving a spotlight to one person that isn't enjoyable to us. Like, okay, everyone else stop, put your game on pause. Let you just roll dice. Okay, stop. Okay, count them. Okay, we're going to roll some more. Protracted. Everyone else really just kind of wants to get the whole thing done with, so they don't have to have it eating up more of their time. You only have a finite amount of time, regardless if you're going to play for an hour or 25 hours straight in your game. You only have so much time, and you don't want to waste it on frivolous, silly things that aren't engaging, that aren't going to draw the players to come back to your table next week. Because as a game master, it is your job to entertain them, as it's also their job to entertain you. No one's having fun with ad nauseum dice rolling. So simplify it out. What at the most, the character's good at it, give them more. If they're bad at it, maybe have them make a roll, and then just sort of take that roll and amplify it. Now, what I like to do, instead of spending all the time dice rolling, I like to use cut scenes. I'll have them down at the bazaar. They're talking to this shrewd merchant, like, and then we cut it. We in our game we use something called the ch, and that sound means okay, we're flipping the scene to something else. We don't have to explain anything. It just means, like we were watching a TV show, the scene would be here, and then we'd cut and flip to somewhere else. And that's a lot of ways that I like to run my game, like as if it was being watched, as if it's a television show. And you don't see somebody like in a television show go down to the market to find a masterwork broadsword. Oh, I can't find it today. Well, I guess I'll come back tomorrow. I guess I'll come back the next day. You don't see that in a show. They might come down and be like, oh, I can't find it. Well, we'll go to the next village. 3 game sessions later, they'll look again. And my players kind of understand that's the sort of style that I want to have, a more realistic style where you're not just bothering me, because that sort of thing eats up my energy. Maybe for some game masters it doesn't, but you'll definitely have people at your table that are just trying to give you the sign on the subtle or even the very overt that, come on, pick the pace up, let's keep moving, this is boring. And Robert, of course, makes good mention that this is boring to him and how I handle it. Like I said, that's the way I handle it with the cutscenes. I'll give you a description. We'll just use, you're trying to find something in a marketplace or a piece of information from people along the streets. So I stop. I give you maybe a little snippet of role playing, but largely just sort of in this cutscene mini montage, and we'll cut it here, and then I'll come back to the next scene, and then I spin it around over here, and I might even, like if people are doing a tandem, I might even flip to a different character. That character's interviewing the city guard, another character's over here talking to some scoundrelish half-orc rogue, someone else is over here speaking to a merchant from the southern lands who just come in a trade caravan. You have someone over here speaking with a stable boy, someone else over here using some political influence and speaking with the duke of the town or one of his advisors or another individual of a different sort, and just kind of give the real heavy role-playing, strong, bam, bam, bam. I'm portraying characters. I'll portray 6, 7, a dozen characters, bam, 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 real quick, just snippets like you're watching it on television. It's a little cutscene, mini montage style, so it's more interesting and vivid. Now, I'd either just essentially give it to the player if they're really good at it, and I think it makes sense that they would get that, or I might make them make a roll, but I'm not going to have players ever make 8, 10, 20 rolls to have the same thing. Those protracted sort of rolls that many systems do call for, I think, are just game design flaws. They're very boring, as you mentioned, Robert. I completely discard that. There's no need to have more than one roll. Most things you don't really even need to have rolls on. If a character's really good at something, just give it to them. If they're not, if they have no idea at all what they're doing, don't give it to them. And if they barely know what they're doing, maybe give them a chance then. That's the way that I like to handle these things. And no players are sitting there going, "Oh, my character should definitely get a roll when I have not trained any ranks at all in this." No, they shouldn't. They're not going to find that. It just probably wouldn't. Now, maybe every great once in a while, you want to give them throw them a random roll to throw up some interest there. But you certainly, a character like that, you don't want to give anything that's going to be protracted situations, because that calls for a degree of skillful specialization. So, particularly in dealing with that sort of task in the game, you really want to allow the character to shine. Remember, characters picked out skills because they want to get a push on those skills, so push them on those skills and highlight them. And in that montage, I'm going to highlight how glib of tongue that individual is that has all these ranks of diplomacy or gather information, and how they're able to sort of speak in this way to one sort of guttery, slimy person, and then they can speak in a more fluent way when they're dealing with someone higher up the end. Because when you're having streetwise or gather information, whatever it is, you're going to have to be able to converse with a large number of people. It's basically being able to be out on the street and get things and deal with the various different subcultures that are out there. So that's basically the way that I like to handle protracted situations. And I find those to be the most likely. You're going to have your tracking rolls, your looking for something very specifically roles, and your attempts to gather information. Now, when I give out the information, then that's where the part comes in, because I'm not going to tell players how to assemble it. I don't do that. Okay, you found this piece of information or that piece of information, and you have to distill it from the role playing that I'm going to give them in those montages, and like, okay, piecing that together, and then they might have to link it together with something from 8 sessions ago, something from 10, and again from something from 10 sessions ago, again to something from 15 sessions again, and again to something from the beginning of the game, and the pieces of information might be spread throughout the party, and usually they only pick up parts of it, and they'll get misinformation, they'll get confusion. That's why, when I talk about previous videos, I always have my characters where the players always bring notebooks, always take notes, always put together, because when you bring those large, interesting, intricate plot webs together, there's a huge payoff both for the game master and for the players when they go, and that, that's like a beautiful sound to me when the players just figure something out, and even if they're wrong, because often that can be quite humorous. But that's the way that I like to handle it. I hope, Robert, that is of some help to you. And anyone else that ever has any questions for me, like the way that I handle anything, I'll be happy to put vids up for you or discuss it through PM. As you can see, this is a rather lengthy response. I was trying to put it together, just a PM to send you, Robert, and I said, I'm just going to do a video. It's going to be a little easier to put it together that way. So I hope that helped. If there was something particular there that I didn't really address, please hit a comment in there, and I'll, get more specifically to it. But I always welcome any sort of questions from people, so I can, share my opinions on it and give me another video topic to go over at any rate. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.